Shalom everybody, Rabbi Edelstein here, that's Rabbi E for short, with a very special and unusual episode of Rabbi E in 3, live, or more precisely, very alive, from and in Jerusalem. That's where I'm recording this right now, and I'm traveling, so I don't have the fancy, or almost fancy microphone that I usually use, and I'm not in studio conditions. I'm actually on the patio of a beautiful hotel. By the way, any products or places I mention in this video, I'm not getting any commission, I'm not getting any payment for, but a beautiful hotel in Jerusalem. Outside on the patio, you'll hear the wind, because indeed one of the amazing things about Jerusalem is the wind, the breeze. Beautiful, even when it's really hot in the day. At night, it's incredible. So you'll hear the ambient sounds, possibly of the wind. Don't be put off by that. Embrace the live and alive feel of this video. And you might even hear the waiters at this wonderful hotel speaking Arabic in the background as they set up for the meal in a couple of hours. Actually, Shabbat is coming. It's funny, you know, anyone who tunes into me occasionally knows that, I sometimes am last minute. So it's last minute for me a little bit before Shabbos in Jerusalem, but not outside the land. Well, you're 7 hours early, so you have all day to chill. You can, some people speed up videos and audios. You can slow me down. You could put me on really slow and just elongate the wisdom. Okay. But no, the point of Rabbi E in 3, whether videos or podcast episodes, audio only, is supposed to be a short-ish burst of Jewish wisdom. Truth is, when I get back to the States, God willing, I'm going to be rethinking and retooling certain aspects, I hope, of the podcast, try to refine it and define it perhaps a little more sharply. But in any case, the purpose of my coming before you today is really none other than to give you an unpaid for, unsolicited by anybody advertisement to come to Israel. Whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, whether your political beliefs are far left or far right, and I'm not going to talk about politics. It's important, of course it is, and they're huge and pressing issues. By the way, if there's shaking going on, that's also a part of the ambiance of being out at this beautiful patio, filming this and recording this. Israel is an incredible place. There's no place like it that I've ever been. I'm not fully a world traveler. I'm sure Thailand is amazing. I'm sure Singapore is amazing. But for this upper middle-aged Jewish American, Israel changed my life when I came here, and every time I come, it's amazing. It's just amazing. I haven't been here for 3 years because of COVID. I usually come every year taking students. I work for MEOR, college-based organization. I direct the DC branch. My wife has family here. But in any case, I usually come every year, which is one of the amazing perks. There are many perks of the wonderful job I have to try to teach Judaism, Jewish wisdom, Torah to people in DC. But I usually come every year, but COVID kept me out. So if I am especially excited, really, the reason I'm even doing this podcast probably is because the intensity of my feeling of the specialness of this place has been accentuated. I haven't been here for 3 years. We could talk, and it's not going to be on this podcast, about the significance of the land of Israel for the Jewish people, for the spirituality of every Jewish person, indeed for the whole world, right? Christians and Muslims know that well, and there's a lot of depth and a lot of breadth to that topic. But just the feeling of being in Israel, it's intense beyond words. It's exhausting, right? I've been here for 3 days. After one day in Israel, you need a vacation after every single day in Israel, right? Everything's intense here. It's true. I don't know. The heat is intense in the summer. The people are passionate. The food is amazing, right? You say, Rabbi, you're probably going to talk spirituality. Well, yeah, spirituality, very intense. The food, incredible. I was in the marketplace, was called the Shuk, Machane Yehuda today. Unbelievable sight. Again, I know the world has wonderful cities, and if we live long enough, explore them all. But if you haven't been to Israel and you want to feel alive and awakened and inspired and challenged and exhausted in a special way that only Israel can do for you, come to Israel. Again, this is not I'm not getting paid for this. I don't work for Birthright, which is a wonderful way to go. I work for MEOR. We have trips, by the way. We do. But I didn't come here to advertise MEOR. In fact, whether it's Birthright or MEOR, come on over. What are you waiting for? Okay? There's a vitality here and a vibrancy, and that I feel as a Jewish person is unlike any other place on earth. I came here when I was about 25, never having been to Israel, never having desired to go to Israel. And it changed my life. I became a rabbi. Literally, I was the last person in my friend group at my school, in my town, perhaps in the whole, New England, that would ever have thought I would be a rabbi when I was growing up. So now you might get scared. Oh no, if I go to Israel, maybe I'll become a rabbi. Well, maybe whatever you do, whatever you become. A trip to Israel is an amazing experience. It's an amazing experience. When I got off the plane 35 years ago, I felt different than I've ever felt before, and so many Jewish people feel that. I'm sure other people too, I'm sure, but I know, as I've heard, it's almost a cliche that a Jewish person will come out of the plane and say, like, wow, most of the people here are Jewish, the majority, whatever. Anyway, in any case, it's an amazing place. That idea that there's more vitality and vibrancy, that's not just, my subjective feeling. It says that King David refers to this place as Eretz HaChayim, or in the plural sometimes Artzos HaChayim, the land of the living. And there are many understandings of that, including the world to come, the ultimate destination of mankind being connected to this place especially. But no, the simple meaning also means you feel like you're living here intensely and in an incredible way. Colors, flavors, the fruits are amazing here. The falafel, I don't even have to tell you about that. The wine, incredible. In any case, so it's the land of the living, and it's really an amazing place. So I guess I want to just say, if you're not Jewish, or if you're Jewish, and if you've never come, and if you're thinking of coming, come to Israel. And again, this is not a political discussion. There are problems with all the political parties in Israel, and there are problems with the situation, and we know there's an important and terrible conflict that has not been resolved, and we know that, and that's something for its own podcast, but not this Rabbi E in 3-ish. 7 minutes, I only want a couple more. I want to say also about this land, right? One anecdote about how it has a power, a spiritual power, to awaken in someone depths, if I may say so, that they never knew existed. I know this from experience, obviously, with me, myself. I'm a product of that. I'm evidence of that. But my father, alav shalom, a blessed memory, who was not a very emotional person. He was actually, he had deep emotions, but he didn't communicate them, right? And he was a wonderful father, a wonderful doctor, someone I admired, and for many, many, reasons and things he did for me, I'm grateful to him. But he did not communicate feelings. Okay, almost never, right? So when he came to visit me with my mom, they came once, and we were up on Masada, okay? And my father said to me, Jeffrey, that's my English name, Jeffrey, I've never felt like this before in my life. And I don't know, yeah, what, Dad? He said something like, and this is 35 years ago or so, 33 years ago, he said, we were on top of Masada, he said, this place is so old, and there's so much history here, and I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. And I almost passed out, partly from the heat of Masada. And you got to drink. They'll always tell you, I got my water bottle here. Don't get dehydrated. It's dangerous. It's a hot sun, not humid in Jerusalem, but very hot. Okay, and in the desert where Masada is. But I almost fell over. My father was experiencing a Jewish feeling, a spiritual feeling, deep from inside of himself, which I never heard him say before, and really only at the very end of his life, or on Shabbos sometimes he would come and visit us with my mom, and which Shabbos touched him very much. I was not raised religious, right, or observant. That's for another podcast, another story. But when my father, talked about the uniqueness of the land of Israel on the top of Masada, I was like, whoa, man, this is a very special place, and it is a very special place. And I think, you know what? I'll end with this point, because it does connect to the Torah portion. Actually, there's a discrepancy in the Torah portion. If you live outside the land of Israel, it's Chukas in the book of Numbers. If you're in the land of Israel, it's Balak. There's a week off because of the holidays. We have extra days outside the land. But in any case, so the out of the land Torah portion of the week is called Chukas in the book of Bamidbar. It's very famous. Why? For a number of things, but very famous because Moses, and Aaron do something that Hashem considers a great transgression. It's enigmatic, to say the least, and the commentaries grapple with it. What exactly do? He hit a rock to bring water forth for the thirsty masses of Jews who were complaining and crying out, instead of speaking to the rock as Hashem had commanded him. By the way, 38 years before, he had been told to hit the rock, and the special rock that became the well, it was in the merit of Miriam, the great sister of Moses and Aaron, that the Jewish people were told benefited from the clear, fresh waters of the well. That's a good reminder. Hold on. But here, 38 years later, as they're about to enter the land, and as Moshe hopes, of course, yearns for, seeing the land and feeling the vibrancy of this land, of Eretz Yisrael, however it unfolded, and there are dozens of commentaries that talk about it, in a moment of anger, possibly in a moment of confusion, a test, obviously, Hashem set up for him, because Hashem is always testing us. He couldn't find the exact rock, and he ended up hitting the rock, not speaking to it. Anyway, that's not the topic of this podcast, but it was because of that Hashem said, you're not going to be the one to bring the Jewish people into the land. And it was a bitter disappointment for him, and he prayed to Hashem, and he was allowed to see the land at the end of his life, but not go in. But I just want, you might say, here's I see where I wanted to go with this, right? The land is incredible of Israel, and it's central to Jewish identity. It's central to the proper performance of the commandments. But arguably the greatest Jew of all time, Moshe, never made it to the land. He didn't make it to the land. So if you never get to the land of Israel, don't be bitter, don't be sad. You can be a holy and righteous person, Jew or Gentile, never having seen the land of Israel. Moses himself is an example, and there are great rabbis who offer that as a deeper reason why, no doubt, Hashem, in his wisdom, didn't allow Moshe to go into the land, even though it's connected in a proximate sense to this hitting the rock, not speaking to it. But God knew that there'd be a long exile, and there'd be Jews who would live and die not in the land, whether in Krakow or New Jersey or wherever. So we should never despair if you can't get to the land of Israel. But the point of this, Rabbi E, and Moshe can inspire us, as can Aaron, who died in the desert, as can Miriam, who died in the desert. So, but if you can go to Israel, come to Israel. I'm only here for a few more days, but every day is like a beautiful eternity. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And sorry for the, I'm not going to apologize for the beautiful Jerusalem wind. I'm not going to apologize for the live out. Yeah, if I had a studio out here, well, subscribe to Rabbi E in 3 and support me. We'll get a portable studio. I think it's not that hard to get, probably at Best Buy, one of these like portable podcast